Very cool. Well, welcome to the Beyond Cinema studio up here at Sundance, Jeff Radice. Firstly, congratulations on having No up here. Feature debut, you find out you get into Sundance. What does that mean for a filmmaker?
Mad dash to get the movie done is what it meant. A lot of long days just because the cut that we sent to Sundance wasn't by no means finished. And so, we had about 6 to 8 weeks to get the movie done. Beyond that, as far as what it means in my future, I'm not going to conjecture on that.
You'll leave it to cultural anthropologists to deal with?
Yeah, I don't like to predict the future. The present, I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
But professionally, I don't know what it might bring.
Yeah, and having the support of the Austin Film Society and things like that, with South by coming up in March, there was probably just a linear thought pattern that, hey, we'll try and make it through to South by. Was that kind of the original?
That was, exactly, as far as our intention of when we were going to premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that the safe premiere would be South by, if we were chosen. But of course, you got to submit to Sundance as a filmmaker.
Yeah, and see how it goes.
Yeah.
But you've had, what's interesting about your project is, you did the crowdfunding thing on Kickstarter. Yeah. Why did you decide to do that? For the funds or to build the community or a bit of both?
For the funds.
Yeah.
I think that, crowdfunding for documentary filmmakers is a real boon. It's, I think probably originated in the last 3 or 4 years that it's become a popular form of fundraising. And I think the other purpose that it served for us is that it got us some attention from people that were maybe interested in helping out but didn't even know about the project. So it raised awareness at the same time that it raised funds, and we needed both.
Very cool. And there's also something unique about you guys, obviously you've got a nice site put together, but the fact that you have a board of advisors essentially on the project as a documentary filmmaker is probably a unique thing. I don't know if I've ever really read it. Obviously there are people who get consulted on and friends and family, and in this case I see Richard Linklater in that list of people. So to what extent was that a valuable resource for you?
I can't understate how valuable it was. Richard Linklater, Lewis Black, the founder of South by Southwest, Glenn E. Friedman, who has a long history in different cultural areas, and then a local documentary filmmaker who had provided some advice. I don't think that we knew whether or not it was a radical thing to have a board of advisors. It seemed like a natural thing for us to do, especially when we put that together really early in the process. It was just like we need to try to generate some legitimacy, and that seemed like a good way to do it.
So were you a baseball fan or a filmmaker first in relation to this project?
That's a good question. I was a baseball fan growing up, and then I lost interest, in my teenage years. I developed interest in other things, and I've rekindled my interest in baseball because of this film. I would say that I was neither coming in, aspiring filmmaker perhaps, but I think I'm much more of a baseball fan now. I'm now playing a little amateur baseball in Austin, and trying to figure out what comes next as far as being a documentarian. Because
Linklater's a bit of a sports nut too, right?
He played. My understanding is that he played baseball in high school, and he faced Roger Clemens. I don't know how well he did against him, but he's a big baseball fan.
Yeah. Is that how you approached him, or did you know him from before?
We approached him through the Austin Film Society. One of my producers, Mike Blizzard, is on the board of the Austin Film Society, and Richard is one of the founders, and so we kind of approached him that way. We asked him if he would be interested in being the executive producer of the film. He said that he had a lot of other things going on, and he's a little too associated with druggy movies, so he didn't want to put his name on there, but he has been an invaluable resource behind the scenes, connecting us with various people that have helped out.
And specifically in relation to Dock Ellis, I mean, obviously the premise is that this is the guy who pitched the no-hitter while high on LSD, but obviously he was so much more and meant so much more to the sport, to the extent that even Jackie Robinson sent him a letter showing how much it meant to him. Now that emotional thread to the story is pretty amazing, but to you, was he just that guy, or did you know more about him? Did you know how rich his history was?
I did not know. When I originally generated some interest, it was because I had a short documentary that I produced here at Sundance entitled LSD A Go-Go.
Yeah.
And what happened is that people would come up and share their LSD stories, and it kind of kicked loose something that I had remembered a little bit of folklore about this baseball pitcher. And so the LSD was the hook for me as I'm trying to use it for the audience to get me into the story. But you know, Doc has a biography written by a poet who later on became Poet Laureate of the United States, and so there is some really rich source material to go on, and that clued me in on some of the things that he had done as a ball player and as a civil rights leader within athletics.
Were you lucky enough to kind of be aware of this project at a time when Doc was still around? You could meet him, or was that never?
It was, you know, and I'll tell you, my original conception for the film was to interview Doc and do it more in the Errol Morris Fog of War style, or a movie like Tyson, where it's just a very, you know, solo talking head style interview with Doc, and that was the original concept. And then we found out that he had gotten ill, and I put the project on hold. And then when he died, I had all this regret about why didn't I pursue it sooner. Doc, when I only talked to Doc on the phone once, and he said, "Let's make a movie," and you know, that just kind of resonated in my head afterwards. I was like, why didn't I follow up on that? And so I had to kind of reconceive the story as more of this ensemble of people that knew Doc talking about him, and that's, you know, what's on screen now.
Yeah, it's cool to see all the different elements, blending entertainment and as well as his colleagues, and obviously bringing in people like Ron Howard as well. How receptive and responsive was he, you know, as a big Hollywood filmmaker, to you approaching him on this project?
Right. So Ron Howard was speaking at the Austin Film Festival. He was being awarded with some sort of, I think it was like a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he was at the this barbecue, you know, very approachable. And I said, and I was carrying around a DVD of Gung Ho because I figured that would be a way to kind of get his attention. And so I went and got it, and I said, "Mr. Howard, would you sign this for me?" And I don't think too many people approach him about the movie Gung Ho, and so, you know, I took his guard down a little bit with that, and then I told him that I was working on a documentary about Dock Ellis, and he said that he thought it was an interesting subject, and you know, asked me some questions, and I asked him if he would be interested in talking more about it, you know, maybe doing an interview, and he gave me his assistant Luisa's phone number, and we continued to follow up. And then when we went on to Kickstarter and we had the trailer that we used for fundraising, we forwarded that to Luisa, and she said, "Well, Ron is in Connecticut right now doing post-production on Rush, and he's available to talk if you'd like." So we went up there and interviewed him in his production office, which is just a big 3-story Victorian house in Connecticut, and he said to me, "I don't know if I'm going to have that much to say about Doc," and I think he was surprised at how much he actually did have to say.
Yeah, very cool, and I'm sure at some point you're going to get to take this to Pittsburgh and show it to people there, where he had such a rich history, and where they had a rich history in bringing the sport of baseball to the modern world by fielding, you know, 9 black players on a team. So contextualizing the film in that way, in that era, must have been exciting for you as well.
Well, absolutely, and I think, you know, this is a film that I think any Pittsburgh Pirates fan is going to love, because it's not just about Doc. It places him as a member of the 1971 championship team, as a teammate of Roberto Clemente and Willie Stargell and all of these, you know, iconic Pittsburgh baseball players. And, you know, we interviewed quite a few of his teammates. Steve Blass, who is now the voice of the Pirates. We interviewed him. We were able to show him a rough cut of the film. We had to go back to Pittsburgh and do some research, so we showed Steve Blass and Manny Sanguian a rough cut, and they both really enjoyed it.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I enjoyed it as well. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us chatting about it, and congratulations on having your film up here.
Well, thank you. It's
Very
an
cool.
honor, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.